So hi and welcome to this video where you join me with a 40 litre chicken drinker and a chemistry separatory funnel. So this is my second video on the subject. My first video I did go into quite a bit of detail of the issues with E10 fuel or the potential issues. This one I want to sort of show how phase separation should be done properly. So we're going to use the chemistry separatory funnel so we can clearly see the separation of the petrol and the ethanol water mix, and to upscale it into actual practical terms I've got hold of a chicken drinker which is 40 litres. Now this actually, if I can just lift it up, as you can see, we've actually got a nice conical end to it, like we have on the chemistry funnel. And I've put a little tap in the end so that we can draw it off. So hopefully this is going to be a much better demonstration. Now it's also worth noting that it only takes 0.5% water to actually cause phase separation. And that's at 15 degrees. Now at lower temperatures it would actually take less water to cause that phase separation, and this is where the sort of worry is with E10 fuel. If it's left standing in your fuel tank for too long, and obviously the water in the atmosphere gets to it and possibly causes that phase separation. So anyway, so that's what this video is about. I will add a link to my first video, but yeah, I'll crack on with this and hopefully you'll enjoy this video. Thank you. So this first demonstration will be using the 500 millilitres chemistry separatory funnel, as it will very clearly show the phase separation. Iron fire protection should always be observed. So if we add 500 millilitres of petrol into a separatory flask, 1% of H2O or water should definitely cause phase separation. So 2% will cover in case fuel has more ethanol than we previously thought. 2% of 100 millilitres is 2 millilitres. Times that by 5 for 500 millilitres is 10 millilitres of water to add. For E5 we should get our 10 millilitres back plus 25 millilitres from the fuel, totaling 35 millilitres of water and ethanol mix. So what I use is deionized water on the basis that it means I won't be adding any impurities into the mixture. Now what I'm also going to do is add a little bit of food colouring into this syringe, and then I'll withdraw my 10 millimeters in total of blue deionized water. So that I'll pop into the separatory funnel like so, and then what I'm going to do is add the 500 milliliters of petrol in 100 milliliter quantities, so I can sort of ideally saturate that petrol with the water as I go. So that's a very high concentration there of water to the petrol, so hopefully that will definitely cause phase separation on that small 100 millilitres of petrol. Now I'm going to repeat this now, so this is the second 200 millilitres just going in there. I'll try and speed some of these parts up, and then again I'm going to give that a quick shake. Now you will actually get some pressure build up, so just be aware of that. So I'm turning the little tap there just to let some of the pressure out. Obviously some of the petrol vapours are also coming out at the same time. So this is our third 100 millilitres now. Pop that in. So by using a laboratory separatory funnel I'm able to actually show very clearly the phase separation. So when I then go on to the larger container, which is 40 litres, which is translucent, so I can't really see very clearly into it. So using glass does make seeing this process a lot clearer. So we're nearly at the maximum that this separatory funnel can handle, which is 500 millilitres. So as you can see, the blue water and ethanol will start to collect at the bottom. And the advantage of using a funnel like this is that you can actually drain off that water and ethanol mix and clearly see where the petrol and the water is separated. So if we now leave that to stand, we've got the full 500 millilitres of petrol in there, plus our 10 millilitres of dyed water. So it's starting to settle down, so I can now take that water and ethanol mix out. And this is where that funnel comes in absolutely fantastic, because you can clearly see the two layers and where the separation is. So we're just coming down now, and there's the petrol just coming towards the tap now, and then turn it off. So that should definitely be just the water, leaving ethanol free petrol into the flask. So what I'll do now is I'll pull my original 10 millilitres out, so we can pull that out of the equation. So I'm trying to be as accurate as possible here because I'm working with very small quantities. So that's 10 millimetres out. So what's left now should be, in theory, what the ethanol content would have been of the petrol. Now obviously I was actually hoping for about 25 millilitres, which would equate to 5% ethanol, but I'm a bit short on that, so I don't know whether this petrol might be a bit old and perhaps it had less ethanol in it, but I've only got about 11 millilitres there, so not as much as I would have hoped to have got out. So after removing the initial 10 millilitres, I only extracted a further 11 millilitres, which isn't the 25 millilitres I was hoping for. 11 millilitres is only 2.2 millilitres per 100 millilitres, or 2.2%, not the 5% as expected for E5. So for my 10 litre attempt, I will saturate the petrol using considerably more water and see how that works out. So I do need to just return the remainder of the ethanol free petrol now back into the container, and in theory there should be about 489 millilitres of fuel in this container now. Now there does seem to be some water actually in the flask still, so but I don't think that would account for what I was hoping for, but there is clearly some water still in there. So now we've seen how to basically remove the ethanol on a small scale using like a chemistry separatory funnel. It's now time to try and upscale this a bit using the chicken drinker, so that we can actually remove, in practical terms, say the ethanol from 30 litres of E5 or E10 petrol. So that's what I'll do now, but I'd also like to give a quick note that it's, when you're dealing with petrol, it's always worth having the correct fire extinguisher on hand, and of course some sort of eye protection just in case petrol was to splash up. So with that out of the way, I'll now crack on and we'll upscale this experiment. So just as a quick reminder, 0.5 to 1% of water should cause a phase separation. So to be safe, 2% should definitely cause it. And that would be 2 millilitres per 100 millilitres of petrol, 20 millilitres per 1 litre, 100 millilitres per 5 litres, and 200 millilitres for 10 litres. 1 litre of water should in theory do 50 litres of petrol. Now if we just take a quick look at the equipment I'll be using, and we have here a 40 litre chicken drinker, and if I just pull this off you'll see it's got a nice conical base there, which is ideal, and at the bottom I've screwed in a 1/4 inch male airline adapter like so, and to that we can just pop a little hose on there and easily draw off our water and ethanol. Now I think that seems to be quite ideal for the purpose of removing ethanol and making like a separatory funnel. I've also got the deionized water there and a bit of blue dye, and of course my 10 litres of petrol. So what I need to do now is to effectively seal the end of this off. So I'm going to do this very simply by just putting my pipe on there, and I'm just going to kink this pipe and hold it closed with a pair of brake pipe pliers. That should just do the trick. So that is now ready and sealed. So I'll pop the pipe back in there, because obviously I've got to shake this, and we can add the water. So what I'm going to do is add a whole litre. So like I said, this would be a saturation. So I've put my dye in there. So this definitely should be overkill with 1 litre. Now that looks a little bit faint, so I think what I will do is add a little bit more blue dye in that and take it off at the end. It's only a few millilitres. Right, so with our water in there now, I'm going to add 10 litres of unleaded petrol. Just see the vapours there coming off. Probably wiser to do this actually outside in the garden, but hey ho. Right, so let's get the lid on that. Now we will get some pressure build when I start shaking this, so we do need to account for that and be a bit careful. So I'll give this a bit of a shake. I mean, you do want to shake it quite a bit. I'm sort of rotating it as well at the same time. I'd say that was pretty mixed up. So we should be able to leave that. I'm just going to let the pressure off. You can hear that hiss there. And then you obviously get some very flammable vapour come out. So I'll pop it on this table here, and we just leave it now for a few hours. Ideally you'd probably leave it overnight. But I think a few hours should do. You can start to see it at the bottom there, the blue, though it's definitely not as clear as when using the chemistry separation funnel, but you can see it. So hopefully as it comes down the pipe I should be able to stop it just in time. So I'm just trying to see where the water is by shaking it, just so I can see the outline. So you can just see it there where my finger is. So what I'm going to try to do is mark this as it goes down so I don't lose sight of the separation. So obviously I don't want the petrol coming down as well. So I'm going to use a demi-john here, because obviously it's going to make things a lot clearer to see. So I think we're ready to now release this. So we'll take our pipe clamp off, and the flow has started. Would have been nice had that looked a little bit bluer. So if I keep my concentration now, I can see where that's going down, and I'll just keep marking that so I know where it is. So it's looking blue in the demi-john, which is good news. So we're up to a litre nearly. So there's our original litre that we added We have got some funny looking debris in there. Looks a bit strange, that. Now I'll keep marking it. Obviously this debris is going to come out. I'll try and photograph it for the camera. Yeah, just shaking it there so I can still see. So there's that debris that's coming down now. I presume it has got something to do with the food colouring, I would have thought. But anyway, so that's nearly at the end now. So here it comes, and it's about there, so we need to stop it there. Now there could be a bit of a transition because it's not totally black and white where the water was and where the petrol starts. So what I'm going to do is actually get a second demijohn. I know that's definitely got water in. There's definitely no petrol in that. So what I'm going to do now is get another demijohn and just take a sort of intermediate layer till I know that the petrol's coming through. I should be able to tell that by the smell. So I should get that strong smell of petrol. So I'll sniff the pipe, just check that is petrol. I think it is. Yep, that's definitely petrol. So I know the rest of that can now go into the fuel can. So we get that all out. The sooner it's all back in the container and sealed, the better. So we should be able to just see it completely empty. There we go. Just see the layer going down now. Took a bit longer than I thought to empty that. There we go. So that's all our petrol with no ethanol. That should be completely ethanol free. Right then, so I'm just going to now try and get the petrol off the surface in this second demijohn. Like so. And then that funny looking water can now go into the original demijohn. That should give me my accurate quantity that's been removed. So as you can see, it's quite a bit of water stroke ethanol that we've removed. So let's take our first 1 litre out. So that's out the picture. So what's left there in the demijohn is, in theory, the ethanol that was originally in the 10 litres of petrol. So let's just get this bit out of the way first, so I can then use the measuring jug again, and then we'll see exactly what we get. So this should be quite interesting. So nearly half a litre. That's very nearly half a litre. So I'm going to estimate that to be about 400 millilitres. Perhaps a little bit more than 400 millilitres. I did actually measure it accurately, and it was 440 millilitres. But it's always best to round down. We go back to the whiteboard now and write our results. We can conclude that we had 1.4 litres. We minus the original 1 litre, which was added, and that gives us 400 millilitres of ethanol per 10 litres of petrol. So 400 divided by 10 equals 40 millilitres per litre. So 4 millilitres per 100 millilitres, which is 4% ethanol extracted. So 5% E5 would be 5 millilitres per 100 millilitres, or 50 millilitres per litre. I think we extracted probably 4.5% in reality, which is quite a good result. So as a bit of an end note, it might be worth noting that ethanol has an octane of around 100 to 113, and once that ethanol has been removed, you've effectively taken premium unleaded petrol down to regular. So you may want to add an octane booster to bring that octane level back up again. And the other point worth noting is that as a homeowner you can only store 30 litres of petrol at home without informing the PEA, which is the Petroleum Enforcement Authority. And that 30 litres can be stored with 10 litres in plastic containers and 20 litres in metal containers, or the full 30 litres in a demountable fuel tank. So hopefully that just gives you a bit of extra information, and I hope you enjoyed this video, and thank you for watching. So you've been watching ethanol extraction from E5 and E10 unleaded petrol, and thank you for watching, and I hope this video helps you remove the ethanol from petrol if the need arises. This video was filmed and edited by me, Mark Savage, in August 2021, and I can be found on Instagram and Facebook under Coats and Gators.